What's going on, everybody? KingofDragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Spider-Man retro carded Rhino. And so here we have Rhino pose and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through his accessories. Rhino does come with two different head sculpts. We do get the calm, collected head. And then we get the angry, very angry head, which looks really nice. He also does come with two pairs of hands. We do get a pair of fists. Then we get a pair of grip hands. Other than that, Rhino here doesn't come with any other accessories. So with that out of the way, let's have a closer look at Rhino. And so here we have a closer look at Rhino, and Hasbro has done a really good job with this figure. They actually put a lot of effort into this reissue, which is quite surprising. I really do like the head sculpt we have here on Rhino. It looks very good. You can see the eye of the Rhino carcass and then the horns right here. His face does look really nice, although my preferred look is going to be him with a very vicious, angry head. I just have this on him for the sake of the review, but yeah, it's very good. Both heads are really nice, don't get me wrong. They both look really good, but I prefer the angry expression. The head is done very nicely, and I do like the fact that his face is actually a separate piece inside the Rhino head, so it's not like the original Rhino figure where it was painted on. This is actually a separate piece, so that's why the colors look very good. Really do like the coloration here on the ivory horns. You can see just how they transition from a darker shade to a lighter shade going up, and then we do have some shading up here at the top of his head. Which, that's one thing I do like, is that there is shading on this figure. Hasbro actually went the extra mile and put some shading on this figure. Not the best shading, if we're being 100% honest. They just kind of oversprayed his chest, his traps, his shoulders, his forearms, his stomach, and his thighs. But other than that, we really don't have too much. And I guess you could say a little bit on the back right here, but yeah, very plain on the back. They didn't do an overspray on the back of the figure. It's Hasbro's way of cutting corners and cost, which is a little bit of a shame because their prices have gone up and they are doing cost-cutting measures like this. Oh, and I guess he has some on the back of his hands. Overall, it would have been nice if the paint was a little more uniform. I do like the fact that we get some paint, but a little bit more would have been nice because it does look good in the shaded spots, but then you get to the spots that aren't shaded, that should be shaded, like all this raised muscle, and then it's just gray. We don't have a darker gray or brown about it. Right here, there should be some shading here on the inside as well as on the main musculature. Right here definitely needs some shading. Like if you were to actually shade this, this should also have some shading because it's a raised part. But yeah, as far as the detailing goes, it's phenomenal. They reused the same torso from the original Rhino figure, which was really good. It's a figure I wish I did have, but I do have this more classic version of Rhino, and the body is just superb. This one doesn't have the shoulder pads that we saw with the original one. Like I said, this is a more classic Rhino, but I do like the fact that he has all this really good texture throughout him, all these lumps and bumps from the Rhino hide. It's very good. I can't really fault Hasbro on that. The sculpt work is impeccable. It looks very good. As far as his hands go, you can see he does have the overspray right here on his hands, and then he has his fingernails painted, which is the same color as his horn. He is using the older style ball joints that we saw with some of the Builder figures, but it works for Rhino. You're not going to really notice it when you get him in a pose, so that's pretty good. Then we do have his really chunky calves, which again could have done with a little bit of overspray here because there's a musculature that would get lost in translation, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Then we go on to his feet, where yeah, you can obviously see why shading is imperative because it looks a little strange having shading here on his foot, but then we have nothing from his knee to his ankle, which is a little bit odd. I do like the paintwork on his feet though. They do look really nice. They did a great job painting the nails here. You can see how much texture is in them. Those look very good. Amazing detail there. The sculpt is very spot on. And something else I do like is that his foot does have a profile to it. It's something that we really don't see too often on Hasbro figures, but there is a profile right here on his foot and it looks very good. I gotta give Hasbro props on that. overall, I do like the sculpt work on Rhino here. It is a very solid figure. Makes me wish I had the original figure, but this is, in my opinion, a more superior figure because it has updated heads, and I think I prefer the more classic look versus the more modern look. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Rhino posed and compared to other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Rhino posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Rhino posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And for a final comparison, here we do have Rhino posed next to a Lightning Collection White Range and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Rhino's articulation now. Being an older figure, he doesn't have the more modern articulation, but the articulation that's on him works perfectly fine. He does have a hinge here in the neck, which does let him look up and lets him look down, which is all you really need from Rhino. You don't really need him tilting his head side to side. He can turn left and right to about right there before his head does connect with his traps, and he has some massive traps. I'm not gonna lie, I do like that. But yeah, very limited head articulation. It's just a hinge going into a peg, so yeah, we don't get the most range out of it, but it does work for the character. As far as his arms go, they do only go out to about right there. I wonder if I can get them to go... no, that's as far as they go. They start hitting the traps right here, which is a little bit of a shame. And they do go all the way around, no problem. So I do like that. We have a bicep swivel, which works fine. We have a single bend here in the elbow, giving us a little less than 90 degrees. But again, it's acceptable for Rhino. We do have a swivel hinge here at the wrist. We have an ab crunch, which really doesn't go back at all. Like, that's as far back as it goes, and you can see it just goes back into position. We get one click going forward, but that's pretty much all you really need because he does tilt his head down really nicely so he can get into the goring position. Then we do have a waist swivel, which is kind of terrible on Rhino just because of how wide his body is. He has a really thick body going this way, but a really slender body right here. They should have made him a little bit thicker if they wanted to have this not look as terrible as it is. But it does function for those of you wondering. Legs do kick forward all the way horizontal, so I do like that. They don't really kick back at all. They go out to the side to about right there, which I guess for the character works, but I would have liked a little bit more. We do have a thigh swivel, which works really good. We have a single hinge in the knee, which goes to 90 degrees. We do have a hinge at the foot, which does go back and forward. Could go a little bit further, but yeah, it's like an 8-year-old mold at this point, I believe. Could be even older. Then we do have a swivel here at the foot. So overall, Rhino here has some pretty good articulation for the character. As far as modern articulation goes, yeah, he is rather limited, but it does work for the character. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Rhino posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the Marvel Legends retro carded Rhino pose for my final thoughts, and overall Hasbro has done a really good job on this figure. Yes, this is a reissue of a figure they have released in the past. The original Rhino was a Build-A-Figure that did come with the Pizza Spider-Man wave, and I never picked up the entire wave of that. I don't think I liked the character selection, although I think I did pass up on Ghost Rider, which I do regret. But overall, Rhino here is a very good looking figure, and this does show that in time Hasbro does improve the quality of their figures. I know a lot of companies like improving their figures and then taking a few steps back, but Rhino here is pretty good for what he is. Despite being a reissue of a Build-A-Figure, I do like this more classic look of Rhino. This is the suit that I grew up watching in the Spider-Man animated series, and this Rhino looks very good. I can't deny the sculpt work is phenomenal on him, although the paint overspray could have been much better. It's just kind of sprayed in certain areas and then called a day, which is a little bit unfortunate and infuriating when you look at the figure as a whole. This figure has a lot of detail that is lost, basically because they didn't do an overspray throughout the entire figure. This is one thing I might go back and redo, but we'll see when the time comes. Overall, I'm happy with this Rhino figure because I didn't miss out on it originally, and that original figure is going for a hefty price on the secondhand market. This Rhino, however, he's also going for a hefty price on the secondhand market, mainly due to the fact he is sold out everywhere on Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Amazon, retail, GameStop. He's completely sold out everywhere, and the cheapest you're gonna find this figure, I believe, is like $80, which that's kind of high for a figure like this. That's pretty much double what his cost is, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's still a solid figure. If you're willing to drop the money for this version of Rhino, I really do recommend you do so if you don't have a Rhino in your collection, because if you missed out on this figure, it is a huge hit to your collection, because Rhino here is an exceptional figure and a must-have for any Spider-Man collector. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other Marvel Legends videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you'd like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified anytime I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.